Stop comparing yourself. Right now, every minute you look at someone else's life, their success, their accomplishments, you rob yourself of focus, confidence, and momentum. This habit is silent, destructive, and relentless. Today, you will learn how to break free, build a system for your growth, and train your mind to sustain attention on what actually matters. By the end of this audiobook, self-doubt will no longer control you. You will reclaim your mental space, your daily actions, and your life. Listen closely, because what you do with this knowledge defines the rest of your days. Chapter 1. Stop proving and start doing. Stop proving. Start doing. Stop proving. Start doing. Let that settle in before you proceed. Every time you measure yourself against someone else, you are proving. Proving what? Approval, validation, worthiness. You're proving to the wrong audience. You do not need their permission. You have a choice. You have the power to stop. That is the first rule. Stop proving. Start doing. Comparison is a silent thief. It drains your energy. It steals focus. Every minute you spend checking someone else's progress is a minute lost on your own work. That is a fact. You have the choice to redirect your attention. Focus on what is in your control. Focus on the work you can do. That is the key. It is not about them. It is about you. Observe the entrepreneur who spends hours examining competitors. They track metrics. They compare product launches. They follow social media announcements. They believe this is strategic. It is not. The strategy is execution. Results come from action. Action compounds. Observation alone achieves nothing. That is a principle. Stop proving. Start doing. You must internalize this system. It begins with a rule. Measure your performance, not theirs. Every day, track what you accomplish. Track what you execute. Track the improvement in your own processes. Compare yourself to your past performance, not to someone else's. That is measurable. That is tangible. That is control. The rest is noise. You do not need their permission to ignore it. Next, establish a daily execution ritual. Define what must be done. Do it. Do not debate. Do not wait. Execution is non-negotiable. That is a system. It replaces proving. You will feel the pull to justify yourself. You will feel the urge to measure against others. Resist it. Discipline is stronger than instinct. Stop proving. Start doing. Repeat. Let's make this concrete. Start with 3 actions per day. Identify 3 tasks that advance your primary goal. Complete them fully before you allow yourself to check the world outside your work. That is the rule. Consistency in small actions builds momentum. Momentum defeats distraction. Momentum eliminates the need for comparison. That is the key. Reflection is important. At the end of each day, record your results. Write down what you executed. Do not write what you wish you had done. Do not write what others are doing. Only record your actions. That is the discipline. That is the measurement that matters. Stop proving. Start doing. Stop proving. Start doing. You will notice resistance. It is predictable. The mind is trained by habit to seek approval, to seek comparison, to seek recognition. That is natural. That is not a flaw. That is a condition. You do not fight it with willpower alone. You fight it with systems. You fight it with rules. You fight it with structure. That is the design of disciplined action. The system is simple. Step 1. Define your daily actions. Step 2. Execute them fully. Step 3. Measure your performance against your past actions. Step 4. Repeat without exception. That is the cycle. That is the loop that trains your mind to value doing over proving. You have a choice. Follow the loop. Refuse comparison. Focus entirely on execution. Understand this. Comparison is never neutral. Every time you look at another person, 2 things happen. 1. You distract yourself from your own work. 2. You assign value to an external standard over your own. That is a trap. You do not need permission to avoid it. You do not need permission to define your own standard. Set your standard. Uphold your standard. That is the first step toward mastery. Let me clarify further. You do not need their approval. You do not need external recognition. You do not need validation from peers, competitors, or social media. None of that is relevant to the system of results. Stop proving. Start doing. Your daily output is the only metric that matters. Output creates results. Results create leverage. Leverage builds freedom. That is the logical chain. Follow it without deviation. Here is the drill. Whenever you catch yourself comparing, stop immediately. Pause. Identify the action you were avoiding because of comparison. Return to that action. Complete it. That is corrective training. That is the behavior that rewires the mind. Stop proving. Start doing. You will repeat this exercise hundreds of times. That is normal. That is necessary. That is growth. Another rule: eliminate public measurement traps. Turn off social feeds. Ignore unnecessary rankings. Remove notifications. Create an environment where proving is impossible. You're not being rude. You're being disciplined. Your attention is finite. Protect it. That is a principle of mastery. You have a choice. Guard your focus. Stop proving. Start doing. Observe the compounding effect. The person who acts daily, measured only by their own results, gains momentum. One completed task leads to another. One improvement compounds into skill. One skill compounds into mastery. The mind adapts. The habit strengthens. Comparison loses power. Execution becomes instinct. That is the outcome of this system. That is the reward of discipline. Now, let us solidify a final rule. Every action you take must be purpose-driven. Do not act randomly. Do not busy yourself with tasks that are only visible to others. Focus entirely on high-leverage actions. High-leverage actions advance your goals and increase your competence. They create measurable progress. Low-leverage actions create the illusion of work. That is distraction disguised as accomplishment. You do not need it. Reject it. Stop proving. Start doing. We end this chapter with one final exercise. List 3 daily actions that are directly tied to your primary goal. Execute them without interference. Record the results. Review them daily. Resist the temptation to compare. That is the rule. That is the system. That is the principle. You have a choice. You will practice it consistently. You do not need their permission. Stop proving. Start doing. Repeat. This chapter concludes with clarity. Comparison is a choice. Action is a choice. Execution is discipline. Execution is measurable. Execution compounds. Stop proving. Start doing. That is the rule you carry forward. That is the mindset you internalize. In the next chapter, we will examine the silent cost of seeking validation, the hidden ways approval seeking undermines focus, and how to replace it with a system that guarantees autonomy and results. Carry this principle forward. Guard it. Apply it. Stop proving. Start doing. Chapter 2. The silent cost of seeking validation. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Say it aloud in your mind. Repeat it until it registers. Every time you seek approval, you give away something you cannot recover. Attention, energy, clarity. That is the first principle. Attention is finite. Time is finite. Both are more valuable than any external recognition. You have a choice. You can allow validation to dictate your decisions, or you can reclaim control. That is the key. Most people are not aware of how deeply approval seeking infiltrates their lives. It is silent. It is subtle. It does not announce itself. By the time you notice, hours, days, and weeks have already disappeared into distractions that offer no progress. Consider the social media scroller. They check notifications. They examine likes. They review comments. They compare engagement with others. Each swipe, each scroll consumes focus that could have been invested in their own work. That is the cost. That is the drain. That is the silent thief at work. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Repeat. Remember. Internalize. This applies beyond social media. It applies in professional life. It applies in relationships. It applies in personal pursuits. Anytime you seek acknowledgement before action, you surrender autonomy. You measure your worth by external signals rather than internal progress. That is a trap. That is a choice. You have a choice. You do not need permission from anyone to refuse it. Rule 1. Define your internal metric. Determine your measure of success before you act. Not after. Not dependent on applause. Not dependent on recognition. Only your own measurement matters. Action without self-measured progress is wasted energy. That is the first behavioral correction. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Say it again. Let's settle. Rule 2. Create a validation-free zone. Identify spaces, times, and tasks where external feedback is prohibited. Disable notifications. Close apps. Remove the temptation to compare. Work without observation. Work without judgment. That is a system. That is structure. That is discipline. You do not need permission to guard your attention. Rule 3. Measure impact, not approval. Focus on outputs that are tangible, visible to you alone. Writing a page, completing a design, executing a plan. Track it daily. Track it precisely. Track improvement over past performance. Comparison is irrelevant. Only results matter. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Repeat. Expect resistance. The mind craves acknowledgement. It is trained to seek external markers of worth. That is natural. That is predictable. That is not a flaw. It is a condition. You do not fight it with desire or willpower alone. You fight it with systems, rules, and structured behavior. That is how focus is built. That is how autonomy is regained. That is how clarity is restored. Let us examine an example. A professional spends an hour composing an email, then pauses to check whether their boss has acknowledged it. In another scenario, the same hour is used to draft a report, send it, and move to the next task without looking for feedback. Which day is more productive? Which day strengthens independence? Which day compounds skill? The answer is obvious. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Repeat. Internalize. Your internal metric becomes your authority. Define what counts. Break it into measurable steps. Daily outputs. Weekly progress. Monthly growth. When you act according to this internal metric, you reclaim time. You reclaim attention. You reclaim energy. You reclaim control. That is the principle. That is the system. You have a choice. You will practice it consistently. You do not need their permission. Here is a behavioral drill. Each time you feel the urge to check for approval, pause. Ask yourself, does this action require external validation to be meaningful? If yes, postpone the action or adjust it to be self-contained. If no, execute without consideration of external reaction. Repeat this exercise consistently. Repetition builds discipline. Discipline rewires the mind. That is the path to mastery. Notice the compounding effect. When validation is removed from the decision loop, focus increases. Tasks are completed faster. Quality improves. Confidence grows. Mental clarity becomes sharper. You operate according to your system, not someone else's measurement. That is autonomy. That is freedom. That is leverage. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Repeat. Absorb. Apply. Another rule. Feedback is different from validation. Feedback is objective data. Validation is subjective approval. Distinguish the two. Accept only objective feedback that improves process. Reject subjective approval that satisfies ego. Process is priority. Results are priority. Others' praise is optional. That is a principle. That is clarity. That is control. You have a choice. Create a daily practice. 1 hour of undistracted work. No phone. No messages. No social media. No acknowledgement seeking. Execute high-leverage actions. Measure your outputs. Reflect on improvements. Repeat tomorrow. This simple system trains your mind to operate independently. That is the correction mechanism. That is the path to eliminating validation seeking. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Say it again. Commit it. Internalize it. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify 3 areas in your life where you seek external validation most frequently. Design rules for each area that remove the need for approval. Implement immediately. Track adherence. Measure only results. This builds self-reliance. This builds attention. This builds clarity. You do not need anyone's permission to reclaim your mind. End this chapter with this certainty. Validation is optional. Results are mandatory. Autonomy is compulsory. You have a choice. You will practice it. You will build the systems. You will protect your attention. Validation steals. Validation distracts. Validation costs. Repeat. Internalize. Apply. Next, we will explore Chapter 3, Measure Progress, Not People, where you will learn to replace comparison with measurable growth, transforming every action into data and converting your attention into continuous, compounding results. Carry this principle forward. Guard it. Apply it. You do not need their permission. Chapter 3, Measure Progress, Not People. Measure progress. Ignore people. Measure progress. Ignore people. Repeat this. Let it become the foundation of your thinking. Comparison blinds you. Every time you look at another person, you measure yourself against them. You lose clarity. You lose focus. You lose time. That is the principle. You have a choice. Stop comparing. Start measuring. Your benchmark is always yourself. Always. Not your neighbor. Not your colleague. Not your competitor. Yesterday's performance is your standard. Today's actions are your challenge. Improvement is measurable. Growth is trackable. Progress is undeniable when it is compared to your past, not someone else's present. That is the rule. That is the system. That is the structure of mastery. Consider the Olympic athlete. They do not obsess over the gold medal winner from another country. They do not monitor every competitor's time. They track their personal best. 1 second faster. 1 rep more. 1% increase in efficiency. They measure progress. They ignore people. That is the system. That is why they improve consistently. That is why results compound. Rule 1. Define your metric of improvement. Every skill, every task, every goal must have a measurable metric tied to your personal growth. Hours spent, outputs completed, mistakes corrected. Track it consistently. Track it honestly. Track it daily. This creates an unassailable reference point. You do not need their permission to measure yourself. You have authority over your own growth. Rule 2. Remove external benchmarks. Stop comparing your process to the outcomes of others. Stop envying their speed. Stop idolizing their skill. External benchmarks are distractions. They are illusions of competence. You cannot control them. Your actions are all you control. Your metrics are all you need. Measure progress. Ignore people. Repeat. Internalize. Consider the professional who constantly checks peer performance dashboards. They compare numbers. They compare strategies. They adjust superficially, yet their own output stagnates. Meanwhile, a colleague who focuses on daily improvement no matter how small, builds competence. They build skill. They build confidence. They build results. The difference is simple. One measures progress. The other measures people. You have a choice. Rule 3. Quantify small wins. Do not wait for monumental achievements to validate your work. One step forward, one page written, one task completed. Record it. Track it. Repeat it. Progress compounds. Small wins multiply. The habit of daily measurement becomes the system that automatically redirects attention away from external comparisons. That is discipline. That is focus. That is control. Expect resistance. The mind is trained to look outward. It seeks social proof. It craves acknowledgement. It evaluates self-worth based on the accomplishments of others. That is predictable. That is natural. That is not a flaw. It is a condition. You correct it through structure. You correct it through rules. You correct it through measurable daily actions. You do not fight it with hope or motivation. You fight it with systems. That is how mastery is built. Now, let us discuss practical implementation. Begin by creating a measurement log. Record your activities. Record outputs. Record errors. Record improvements. Compare each day to the previous day. Focus on incremental growth. Ignore others entirely. Do not allow yourself to drift back into comparison. Measure progress. Ignore people. Measure progress. Ignore people. Repeat. This is the mental conditioning drill. Here is an example from skill development. A pianist practices scales for 1 hour daily. They do not check the practice of other pianists. They track the speed, accuracy, and consistency of their own playing. Day by day, improvement accumulates. Months later, mastery emerges. Their mind is trained to measure progress, not people. That is the method. That is the discipline. That is the outcome. Another rule: eliminate social feeds or external performance boards that trigger comparison. Notifications, leaderboards, and rankings are unnecessary distractions. They provide no actionable information about your growth. Remove them. Guard your attention. Protect your system. Your metrics are internal. Your results are externalized through action, not observation. That is the structure of disciplined focus. Rule 4. Set time-bound checkpoints. Weekly, review your metrics. Monthly, review cumulative progress. Do not assess yourself against peers. Assess yourself against prior performance. Identify patterns of improvement. Identify areas needing correction. Make adjustments in your actions. That is the process. That is the feedback loop. That is how you maintain consistent forward movement. Measure progress. Ignore people. Measure progress. Ignore people. Repeat. Reflection is essential. End each day with a clear record of outputs and improvements. Identify what was achieved. Identify what was missed. Evaluate only against your own prior standards. This creates a mental habit. Your self-worth and growth are under your control. You do not need permission. You do not need recognition. You do not need comparison. You have authority over your own development. Notice the compounding effect. Day by day, week by week, month by month, your progress accumulates. Your skills strengthen. Your confidence solidifies. Your mind becomes disciplined. Comparison loses power. Envy diminishes. Doubt fades. Your system of measurement creates clarity. Your system of execution guarantees results. That is the logical chain. That is the rule. You have a choice. Behavioral drill. Every time you catch yourself comparing to someone else, pause. Ask, am I measuring my improvement or theirs? If you're measuring theirs, stop. Return to measuring yourself. Adjust your daily actions. Execute. Record. Repeat. This reinforces the mental pathway. It rewires attention toward controllable factors. Measure progress. Ignore people. Measure progress. Ignore people. Say it. Apply it. Internalize it. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify 3 core areas where comparison dominates your thinking. Create a measurable internal metric for each. Track it daily. Review weekly. Ignore external performance. Focus exclusively on your own improvement. Build your system. Guard your attention. Strengthen your mind. You do not need anyone's permission. You have authority. You have control. Measure progress. Ignore people. End this chapter with certainty. The measure of your growth is internal. External comparison is irrelevant. You have a choice. You will apply these systems. You will track improvement. You will focus on your own metrics. You will ignore people. That is the path to mastery. In the next chapter, we will examine Chapter 4. Your attention is your currency, exploring how attention, once guarded and directed, becomes the most valuable asset you possess. Carry this principle forward. Guard it. Apply it. You do not need their permission. Chapter 4. Your attention is your currency. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Say it. Internalize it. Let it define your actions. Every second you allow distraction, comparison, or unnecessary validation to consume your focus, you lose currency you cannot recover. That is the first principle. You have a choice. You control your attention. Guard it. Protect it. Spend it only where it produces measurable returns. Comparison costs time. Comparison costs clarity. Comparison costs momentum. Every glance at another person's success, every check of social media, every evaluation of someone else's progress is an expense. A tax on your attention. That is not theory. It is fact. CEOs, founders, top performers, and athletes understand this intuitively. They guard their attention with rules. They cut noise deliberately. They invest focus where it produces results. You can do the same. You have a choice. Rule 1. Define high-value tasks. Identify the activities that create the largest return on your attention. These are actions that compound results over time. Execution, problem-solving, skill development, deep work. Do not allow your focus to drift toward low-value tasks, idle curiosity, or observation of others. Protect your time. Protect your attention. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Rule 2. Eliminate distractions systematically. Notifications are theft. News feeds are theft. Unnecessary meetings are theft. Every alert, every ping, every prompt diverts your currency without compensation. Remove them. Schedule time for attention-intensive work. Block interruptions. Design your environment so focus is the default state. That is a system. That is structure. That is discipline. You have a choice. Consider the CEO who schedules uninterrupted blocks of work every morning. No phone, no email, no colleagues entering the room. They protect their attention fiercely. They accomplish more before lunch than others achieve all day. That is leverage. That is the value of attention spent wisely. Every second directed toward meaningful action compounds. Every second wasted on comparison or distraction is permanently lost. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 3. Measure the cost of distraction. Keep a log for 1 week. Record moments you allowed your attention to drift. Record what triggered the distraction. Record what was lost in terms of output or progress. This creates awareness. Awareness is a prerequisite for discipline. Once you see the cost, you will take corrective action. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Resistance will appear. The mind is trained to react to novelty, to comparison, to external stimulation. That is predictable. That is normal. That is not a flaw. You do not resist with willpower alone. You resist with systems. You resist with rules. You resist with structure that automates focus. Every system you implement protects your currency. Every distraction blocked compounds your results. You have a choice. Rule 4. Batch low-value tasks. Allow minimal attention to non-essential activities in scheduled, confined windows. Social media, emails, trivial administration. Outside of these windows, attention is forbidden. This creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. Your attention becomes concentrated. Focus becomes habit. Results follow naturally. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Reinforce. Consider the example of a top-performing athlete. They do not allow peripheral noise to influence their practice. They focus on the drill, the repetition, the mechanics. Each moment of attention is invested in performance improvement. Results are the product of concentrated effort over time. The same applies to business, to creative work, to skill mastery. Treat your attention as currency. Spend it where it produces the highest return. Rule 5. Train attention like a muscle. Start with small intervals of focused work. Increase duration progressively. Monitor fatigue. Rest strategically. Avoid multitasking. Avoid shallow engagement. Every focused session strengthens your cognitive capacity. Every distracted session weakens it. This is measurable. This is repeatable. This is system design. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Internalize. Reflection is essential. Each evening, review your day. Note moments when attention was spent effectively. Note moments when it was lost. Quantify the results achieved per unit of attention. Evaluate trade-offs. Adjust future schedules accordingly. This creates an ongoing feedback loop. It transforms awareness into action. It converts focus into leverage. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Behavioral drill. Whenever you feel your mind drifting, immediately ask, is this action consuming currency? Is it producing measurable return? If not, stop. Redirect attention to high-value work. Execute. Measure. Repeat. This reinforces disciplined allocation of focus. It rewires mental priorities. It strengthens autonomy. It eliminates the silent thief of distraction. Notice the compounding effect. Weeks of disciplined attention produce more results than months of scattered effort. Focused work magnifies skill acquisition. Focused work accelerates progress. Focused work strengthens clarity and confidence. Attention is your most valuable asset. Treat it with respect. Guard it fiercely. Spend it where it counts. You have a choice. You will not squander it. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify your top 3 high-value tasks. Schedule uninterrupted blocks to complete them. Remove all potential distractions. Track time spent on these tasks versus time lost to low-value activity. Review at the end of the week. Adjust. Protect. Reinforce. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Attention is wealth. Spend it wisely. Repeat. Internalize. End this chapter with certainty. Your attention is finite. It is your most valuable resource. Wasted attention is opportunity lost. Focused attention is leverage gained. You have a choice. You will build systems to protect it. You will track it. You will measure it. You will invest it wisely. Distraction is optional. Mastery of focus is compulsory. Carry this principle forward. In the next chapter, we will examine Chapter 5. Habits beat motivation every time, revealing the system that converts disciplined attention into automatic daily execution. Guard it. Apply it. Spend your attention wisely. Chapter 5. Habits beat motivation every time. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Say it. Repeat it. Internalize it. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation is unreliable. Motivation arrives unpredictably. You cannot depend on it. It is a spark. It fades. It cannot sustain your growth. Habit is the engine. Habit is the system. Habit is unstoppable. That is the principle. You have a choice. You will rely on habit, not motivation. Every day, the mind seeks shortcuts. It waits for inspiration. It waits for feeling ready. That is a trap. It is predictable. It is a silent thief of time. The writer who waits for inspiration produces sporadically. The one who commits to 1 page per day produces consistently. 1 page daily. 1 page repeated. Months later, a book exists. 1 page builds 2. 2 builds 10. 10 builds mastery. That is the power of habit. That is the system. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Reinforce. Rule 1. Define small, measurable actions. Your habits must be concrete, not vague, not aspirational. Identify the smallest unit of progress that compounds. 1 push-up, 1 paragraph, 1 phone call, executed daily without exception. That is the core rule. That is the foundation of momentum. Habit beats motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 2. Schedule your habits. Daily execution must be non-negotiable. Place it at a fixed time. Build it into your system. Remove choice from the equation. Choice invites delay. Choice invites doubt. Habit overrides decision fatigue. Execution becomes automatic. Repetition builds momentum. Momentum creates skill. Skill generates results. That is the sequence. You have a choice. Implement it. Do not delay. Consider the example of the writer. Each day, she writes 1 page. Some days, she feels inspired. Some days she does not. The page is written regardless. Over time, she produces work that would overwhelm the sporadic writer. Inspiration alone cannot create consistency. Habit guarantees output. Habit beats motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Rule 3. Track your habits. Measurement is required. Use a simple log. Record each completed action. Observe streaks. Observe missed actions. Review patterns. This creates accountability. Accountability strengthens adherence. Adherence reinforces momentum. Momentum becomes instinct. That is the system. That is the principle. You have a choice. Track it. Measure it. Repeat daily. Resistance is inevitable. Some days, your mind will resist. It will whisper excuses. It will invent obstacles. That is predictable. That is natural. That is not a flaw. You do not negotiate with it. You act. You execute. You honor the habit regardless of emotion. That is discipline. That is mastery. Motivation will never provide this. Habit provides certainty. Habit provides leverage. Habit is a system. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 4. Start small and scale. Attempting too much at once guarantees failure. Build the habit until it is automatic. Once automatic, layer on additional actions. Small wins compound. Systems expand naturally. Avoid overwhelming the mind. Avoid resistance fatigue. Focus on consistency over intensity. That is the design of sustainable growth. That is the rule. You have a choice. Build slowly. Execute daily. Habit beats motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Consider the professional athlete. They do not rely on inspiration to train. They adhere to a schedule of drills, repetitions, and practice. Every day, rain or shine, pain or fatigue, progress accumulates. Performance improves. Skill becomes automatic. Mastery emerges. Motivation alone cannot achieve this. Habit is the driver. That is why top performers operate on systems. That is why habits are superior. That is why motivation alone is insufficient. Rule 5. Stack habits with triggers. Pair new actions with existing routines. Brush teeth, then write one page. Open laptop, then review one metric. Morning coffee, then execute planning ritual. Triggers automate adherence. Triggers remove reliance on feeling motivated. Execution becomes mechanical. Momentum accumulates. That is system design. That is behavior engineering. Habit beats motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Reflection is essential. At the end of each week, review habit completion. Identify patterns. Adjust routines. Observe compounding results. Small daily actions, when tracked, measured, and repeated, create outcomes far beyond what motivation could ever produce. Habit is leverage. Habit is power. Habit is certainty. Motivation is optional. Habit is mandatory. You have a choice. Execute. Repeat. Reinforce. Behavioral drill. Choose one habit that advances your primary goal. Execute it daily for 1 week without exception. No negotiation. No debate. Track completion. Evaluate results. Extend the habit into the next week. Add one more complementary action. Continue compounding. Habit overrides resistance. Habit overrides emotion. Habit produces momentum. Habits beat motivation. Repeat. Internalize. Apply. Notice the compounding effect. One consistent habit grows into multiple habits. Execution becomes routine. Momentum accelerates. Skill strengthens. Confidence solidifies. Results multiply. Habits create leverage. Motivation cannot. Habit creates certainty. Habit creates freedom. That is the principle. That is the design. You have a choice. Commit to it. Systematize it. Execute daily. End this chapter with certainty. Motivation is unreliable. Habit is unstoppable. Daily actions compound into mastery. You have a choice. Define your small, measurable habits. Schedule them. Track them. Execute without exception. Stack them with triggers. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. In the next chapter, we will examine Chapter 6. Turn comparison into data, not judgment. Learning how to convert envy into insight and measurement. Transforming distraction into actionable intelligence. Carry this principle forward. Guard it. Apply it. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Habits beat motivation. Chapter 6. Turn comparison into data, not judgment. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat this. Let it become your filter for every interaction with the outside world. Comparison is inevitable. It is unavoidable. Every time you encounter someone's success, every time you notice progress in others, your mind is triggered. The choice is yours. Convert into data, or let it become judgment. That is the principle. You have a choice. Most people compare to judge. They measure another's success and feel inadequate. They criticize themselves for falling short. That is wasted energy. It is destructive. It is silent, corrosive, and habitual. Judgment does not improve skill. Judgment does not create results. It destroys focus, erodes confidence, and steals time. That is fact. That is predictable. That is preventable. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 1. Redefine your comparison. When observing another's results, ask, what can I learn? What can I extract? Turn curiosity into measurement. Observe processes. Identify strategies. Note execution. Capture tactics. Do not attach value to your self-worth. Do not internalize success as a threat. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Example, a competitor launches a new product. The instinct is to feel inferior. The system is to ask, what do they do that produced results? How can I apply the principle to my own work? Examine the steps, the timing, the approach. Treat it as a case study. Record insights. Apply lessons. Do not judge yourself for not being ahead. You have a choice. Measurement creates leverage. Judgment creates distraction. Rule 2. Create a comparison log. Each time you notice another person's progress, immediately record 3 observations, 1 actionable strategy, 1 insight in a process, 1 behavior to emulate or improve. Focus exclusively on learning. Do not record feelings of inadequacy. Do not record comparisons of status or outcome. Transform envy into insight. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Internalize. Resistance is natural. The mind will revert to self-criticism. It will whisper, they are better than me. I am behind. I am failing. That is predictable. That is habitual. You do not negotiate with it. You correct it with rules. You act according to process, not emotion. You extract data. You ignore judgment. That is discipline. That is mastery. That is the system. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Rule 3. Schedule reflection on collected data. Weekly, review your comparison log. Identify patterns. Implement improvements in your own systems. Adjust actions. Modify processes. This transforms observation into forward motion. Envy becomes intelligence. Resentment becomes leverage. Observation becomes progress. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Consider an athlete analyzing competitors' performances. They do not berate themselves for being slower or weaker. They study mechanics, training routines, and strategy. They record actionable insights. They apply those insights in controlled experiments on their own performance. Each analysis compounds improvement. Judgment would erode confidence. Data produces results. You have a choice. Rule 4. Limit exposure to unnecessary comparison. Observe intentionally. Consume information with purpose. Avoid passive scrolling or observation that triggers judgment. Every unplanned glance creates mental noise. Mental noise consumes attention. Attention is currency. Protect it. Guard it. Filter every input. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Internalize. Behavioral drill. The next time you encounter success in others, follow this system. Stop and pause. Ask, what is actionable here? What can I apply to my own work? Record 3 data points. 1 process, 1 behavior, 1 principle. Take immediate action to implement 1 element. Do not evaluate self-worth. Do not assign value to outcome. Act only on information. Repeat this process consistently. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Rule 5. Measure improvement against yourself, not others. Use comparison only as a source of objective input. Your metric of success remains internal. Your benchmark is your past performance. External data guides adaptation. External judgment destroys focus. This is the system. This is the structure. You have a choice. Practice it consistently. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Consider professional learning a skill. They observe a colleague's execution. They note technique. They note efficiency. They apply those techniques to their own system. They do not think, I am inferior. They are better. They focus on actionable insights. Results improve. Mastery accelerates. That is the system. That is the principle. You have a choice. Follow it. Apply it. Internalize it. Reflection is essential. Daily, review the data extracted from observation. Adjust processes. Execute consistently. Track improvement. Feedback loops are internal and actionable. Avoid emotion-driven analysis. Avoid judgment. The mind adapts to structured input. Structured input creates measurable growth. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Notice the compounding effect. Weeks of applying this system produce skill accumulation. Confidence solidifies. Focus strengthens. Performance improves. Observation becomes a tool, not a distraction. Attention is allocated efficiently. Progress compounds. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Apply. Internalize. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify 3 areas where you habitually compare and judge yourself. Transform these into a structured observation system. Record 3 actionable data points per instance. Apply 1 insight immediately. Track results. Repeat daily. Reinforce the system. Ignore self-criticism. Guard focus. You have a choice. You do not need permission. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. End this chapter with certainty. Observation is a tool. Judgment is waste. Comparison is inevitable. Your response is optional. Measure objectively. Extract insight. Apply consistently. Build your system. Guard your attention. Progress is internal. Results compound. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Repeat. Internalize. In the next chapter, we will examine Chapter 7, The Power of Intentional Silence, learning how controlled mental stillness amplifies focus, clarity, and disciplined execution. Carry this principle forward. Apply it. Guard it. Data teaches. Judgment destroys. Chapter 7, The Power of Intentional Silence. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat this. Let anchor your awareness. Silence is not absence. Silence is focus. Silence is control. Every minute spent in intentional quiet trains your mind to resist distraction. Every moment surrendered to noise erodes clarity, energy, and precision. That is the principle. You have a choice. Guard your mind. Protect it. Use silence as a tool. Distraction is default. The mind seeks stimulation. Alerts, messages, opinions, social feeds, background chatter. All are thieves of attention. You do not have to comply. You do not need to respond. You have authority over your focus. That is the system. That is the discipline. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 1. Schedule periods of intentional silence. Daily. Non-negotiable. Short at first. 5 to 10 minutes. Gradually increase to 1 hour or more. During this time, eliminate all auditory and visual distractions. Phones off. Screens closed. No conversation. Focus inward. Observe thoughts. Do not chase them. Watch them pass. This is training. This is mental conditioning. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Consider innovators like Einstein and Tesla. They scheduled hours of uninterrupted mental space. They did not allow external inputs to interrupt thought. They developed ideas and solved problems that changed the world. Silence was their tool. Attention was their asset. Creativity emerged from stillness. Execution became precise because mental noise was minimized. That is the principle. You have a choice. Practice it. Respect it. Rule 2. Treat silence as a system, not a luxury. Block specific times. Protect them. Do not negotiate. Place your most demanding tasks or deepest thinking inside these blocks. The mind adapts to structure. Repeated practice of controlled quiet builds resistance to distraction. Noise loses its grip. Focus becomes habitual. That is the rule. That is the design. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Internalize. Resistance will appear. Thoughts will intrude. Urges to check messages, social media, or engage in idle conversation will surface. That is predictable. That is normal. That is not a flaw. You do not fight it with willpower alone. You use structure. You use timing. You use rules. Observe distractions without following them. Allow them to pass. Return attention to silence. That is the system. That is discipline. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Rule 3. Combine silence with high-value output. Use quiet periods for analysis, planning, or skill practice. Treat silence as the environment in which your best work occurs. Distractions are removed. Focus is sharpened. Mental energy is concentrated. Output is maximized. Attention is protected. Results are produced. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Internalize. Consider a creative professional attempting to solve a complex problem. Background noise, chatter, and notifications break thought patterns. Creativity is scattered. Solutions are delayed. Contrast this with the same professional seated in intentional silence, uninterrupted for 1 hour. Solutions emerge faster. Thinking is deeper. Execution is precise. The difference is measurable. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Reinforce. Rule 4. Practice microsilence throughout the day. Between tasks. During transitions. Walking. Waiting. Pause. Observe. Breathe. Do not respond immediately. Observe attention. Build control. Small moments of quiet compound. They strengthen resistance to external noise. They reinforce focus. They protect mental energy. That is system design. That is discipline. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Behavioral drill. Schedule 2 blocks of intentional silence daily. Start small. 1 in the morning. 1 in the evening. Remove all possible distractions. Set a timer. Sit quietly. Observe thoughts without following them. Engage in deep work if necessary. Track progress over weeks. Notice clarity, speed, and quality of thought improve. Mental resilience increases. Noise becomes inconsequential. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 5. Integrate reflection into silence. Journaling, planning, and problem-solving are amplified by quiet. Thoughts align. Priorities emerge. Mental clutter diminishes. The mind becomes a tool rather than a battlefield. Observation becomes insight. Insight becomes action. Action compounds results. Attention is optimized. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Notice the compounding effect. Days of intentional silence produce weeks of heightened focus. Skills sharpen. Decisions improve. Mental clarity grows. Distraction loses power. Thought becomes deliberate. Execution becomes precise. Creativity emerges naturally. Productivity is amplified. That is the outcome of discipline. That is the benefit of structure. You have a choice. Implement it. Protect it. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify 1 hour daily to be completely silent. Remove all external input. Observe thoughts. Focus attention. Apply mental energy to high-value tasks. Track improvements in clarity, focus, and output. Gradually expand silence duration. Integrate micro-silence during the day. Build a system. Guard your mental space. Protect your attention. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Repeat. Internalize. End this chapter with certainty. Silence is not optional. Noise is not neutral. Attention is a resource. Execution requires focus. The mind is trained, conditioned, and disciplined through controlled stillness. You have a choice. You will create rules. You will schedule silence. You will resist noise. You will strengthen your mental capacity. Carry this principle forward. In the next chapter, we will explore Chapter 8, Systems over Goals. Always, learning how structured processes replace unreliable ambition and guarantee measurable results. Apply this principle. Guard it. Silence strengthens. Noise weakens. Chapter 8, Systems over Goals. Always. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Repeat this. Let it define how you approach every action. Goals are outcomes. They are the destination. Systems are the process. They are the vehicle. Goals can motivate. Systems create results. Motivation is unreliable. Systems are dependable. That is the principle. You have a choice. Follow process. Ignore the lure of outcomes. Systems over goals. Repeat. Most people pursue goals. They set ambitious targets. They dream of success. They imagine results. That is insufficient. Results are never guaranteed by desire alone. The path to mastery is built through repeated, consistent process. Systems convert effort into measurable progress. Systems compound over time. Goals without systems are fragile. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 1. Define your system. Identify the daily actions that lead to your desired outcome. Not the outcome itself. Not the dream. Actions. Habits. Routines. Execute them consistently. Track them. Measure adherence. Adjust the process, not the goal. Master the system. The outcome will follow naturally. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Repeat. Example. Consider an athlete training for competition. They could set a goal, win the championship. That alone does not improve performance. Instead, they follow a system, daily workouts, technique drills, nutrition plans, recovery routines. Each day builds skill. Each session compounds strength. By focusing on the system, results emerge. Victory is a byproduct, not the focus. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 2. Detach self-worth from goals. Goals are external outcomes. They're influenced by variables beyond your control. Performance, timing, competition, luck, all can interfere. Your system is internal. It is within your control. Focus on what you can control. Execute relentlessly. Track adherence. Build discipline. That is leverage. Systems over goals. Repeat. Reinforce. Rule 3. Break goals into actionable systems. Large ambitions are overwhelming. They invite procrastination. Reduce each goal to daily repeatable actions. One step, executed consistently, compounds into progress. Track daily completion. Adjust the system as needed. Evaluate the process, not the result. Outcomes are a natural consequence of disciplined action. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Resistance will appear. The mind seeks results. It craves recognition. It measures success by milestones. That is predictable. That is natural. That is habitual. You do not negotiate. You follow process. You track actions. You refine methods. Results will follow. Discipline precedes reward. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 4. Build feedback loops. Systems must be measured. Track completion. Track efficiency. Track quality. Identify inefficiencies. Adjust immediately. Iterate processes. Optimize consistently. Feedback loops ensure the system adapts and improves over time. Goals remain constant, but the system evolves. Systems over goals. Repeat. Reinforce. Consider a writer producing a book. They could set a goal, complete the manuscript in 6 months. That alone may fail. Instead, They implement a system, 1 page per day, editing twice per week, research scheduled precisely. Each day compounds progress. Each week produces measurable output. The manuscript emerges naturally. The goal is achieved because the system was mastered. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 5. Schedule systems into daily life. Treat them as non-negotiable blocks. Morning, midday, evening, define time. Execute the actions. Remove distractions. Protect focus. Automate repetition. Make the system unavoidable. Consistency compounds into mastery. That is the power of structured action. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Behavioral drill. Identify one current goal. Strip it of outcome focus. Break it into repeatable daily actions. Schedule them. Execute them without deviation. Track adherence. At the end of each week, review. Adjust the process. Ignore the outcome for now. Focus on consistency. Master the system. Results will follow naturally. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Reflection is essential. Each evening, review system execution. Record what was done. Record efficiency. Record patterns. Adjust tomorrow's plan accordingly. This builds feedback into habit. Habit compounds into skill. Skill compounds into results. This is the logical sequence of success. Systems over goals. Repeat. Reinforce. Internalize. Notice the compounding effect. Days of disciplined process produce weeks of visible progress. Skills strengthen. Execution improves. Outcomes follow naturally. Goals without systems are fragile. Systems guarantee consistent forward motion. Your energy is invested in what you control, not what you hope. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. Final exercise for this chapter. Select one major goal. Map out the system of daily actions required to achieve it. Schedule time blocks. Track execution. Adjust process, not outcome. Repeat consistently. Guard adherence. Build feedback loops. Remove reliance on external events or motivation. Systems over goals. Repeat. Internalize. End this chapter with certainty. Goals are destinations. Systems are vehicles. Desire alone does not deliver results. Systems convert effort into measurable progress. Execution, measurement, iteration, and refinement guarantee outcomes. You have a choice. Focus on systems. Ignore external pressure. Build processes. Execute consistently. In the next chapter, we will explore Chapter 9. Train your mind like a muscle. Learning how mental discipline and structured routines transform focus into long-term mastery. Apply this principle. Guard it. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Systems over goals. Chapter 9. Train your mind like a muscle. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Say it aloud. Repeat it. Internalize it. Focus is not a gift. Focus is not innate. Focus is a skill. Focus is a muscle. Like any muscle, it grows stronger with deliberate, consistent exercise. Neglect it and it weakens. Train it daily. Grow it daily. That is the principle. You have a choice. Exercise your mind deliberately. Distraction is the default. Shallow tasks, notifications, social media, and constant comparison erode focus. Each interruption weakens the mental muscle. Each split second of divided attention is a lost opportunity to build strength. That is fact. That is predictable. That is avoidable. You do not need permission to protect your attention. You do not need external validation to guard your mind. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Rule 1. Schedule deliberate attention exercises. This includes meditation, focused work sprints, journaling, or problem-solving sessions. Start with manageable durations. 5 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of deep work. Gradually increase duration. The brain adapts. Attention span grows. Control strengthens. Momentum builds. That is the system. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Consider the example of meditation. Sitting in silence, observing thoughts, resisting distraction, returning focus repeatedly. This is resistance training for the mind. Each session increases tolerance to distraction. Each session strengthens awareness. Each session builds the ability to sustain attention for longer periods. Like lifting weights, repetition is essential. Daily exercise compounds strength. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Rule 2. Implement structured work sprints. Identify high-value tasks. Set a timer. Execute with zero tolerance for distraction. During these intervals, focus is absolute. Every interruption is forbidden. The mind experiences concentrated effort. Neural pathways for attention are reinforced. Gradual extension of sprint durations increases endurance. That is deliberate mental training. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 3. Journaling as cognitive resistance. Record thoughts, observations, decisions, and reflections. Writing clarifies thinking. It strengthens mental organization. It consolidates memory. It reduces mental clutter. Over time, journaling creates discipline in attention allocation. The mind learns to stay engaged, to process information efficiently, and to prioritize tasks. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Resistance is inevitable. The mind will seek shortcuts. It will distract itself with impulses, emotions, and habitual behaviors. That is predictable. That is natural. That is not a flaw. You correct it with structure. You correct it with rules. You correct it with daily exercise. You do not negotiate. You execute. You enforce. Each repetition builds strength. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 4. Create a progressive overload for attention. Just as muscles require increasing weight, the mind requires increasing challenge. Gradually lengthen focus sessions. Increase complexity of tasks. Introduce controlled distractions and practice maintaining concentration. Measure endurance. Track improvement. Adjust intensity systematically. This ensures continual growth. That is the system. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Example. A professional schedules 25-minute focus sessions with a single task, followed by a 5-minute pause. Each week, the session increases by 5 minutes. Tasks increase in difficulty. Distractions are minimized. Attention endurance grows. Efficiency improves. Mental resilience strengthens. Momentum compounds. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Rule 5. Protect recovery periods. Just as muscles need rest, the mind requires downtime to consolidate gains. Intentional breaks, sleep, and periods of silence allow neural pathways to strengthen. Neglect rest, and focus deteriorates. Energy is depleted. Discipline falters. Include recovery in your system. Monitor performance. Adjust rest strategically. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. Behavioral drill. Design a 30-day mental training plan. Include daily meditation, 2 focused work sprints, and journaling. Record performance and attention endurance. Adjust session length weekly. Observe improvements in sustained focus, clarity, and execution. Repetition compounds results. Neural pathways strengthen. Attention becomes resilient. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. Notice the compounding effect. Weeks of structured mental exercise produce months of heightened focus. Tasks are completed faster. Decisions are sharper. Creativity expands. Productivity multiplies. Shallow distractions lose power. Mental endurance becomes instinctive. That is the payoff of consistent training. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. Final exercise for this chapter. Identify one high-value focus skill you want to strengthen. Schedule daily exercise sessions. Include meditation, timed sprints, or journaling. Track adherence and performance. Gradually increase duration and difficulty. Apply recovery periods. Repeat daily. Strengthen the mental muscle deliberately. Guard attention. Protect focus. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Repeat. Internalize. End this chapter with certainty. Attention is a muscle. Focus is the strength you build. Distraction is the weakness you eliminate. Daily practice compounds into mastery. You have a choice. You will execute. You will measure. You will strengthen. In the next chapter, we will explore Chapter 10, Build a Fortress of Focus, learning how to combine all previous principles into a system of invincible, disciplined attention. Apply this principle. Guard it. Train it daily. Grow it daily. Chapter 10. Own your growth. No excuses. Own it. Grow it. Own it. Grow it. Own it. Grow it. Say it aloud. Repeat it. Internalize it. Growth is not accidental. Growth is not handed to you. Growth is deliberate. Growth is measurable. Growth is entirely under your control. You have a choice. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop blaming others. Stop waiting for luck. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Excuses are the default of the undisciplined mind. Lack of time. Lack of resources. Someone else's actions. The world is unfair. These are narratives that steal energy, attention, and focus. They feel real. They feel justified, yet they accomplish nothing. Excuses destroy momentum. Excuses weaken discipline. Excuses guarantee stagnation. That is the truth. You have a choice. Reject excuses. Own your growth. Grow it. Rule 1. Take complete responsibility. Assess your actions daily. Identify what you controlled. Identify what you executed. Identify what you failed to execute. Measure results honestly. Do not externalize failure. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. The self-made leader does not waste time on blame. They focus exclusively on what can be changed. Themselves, their actions, their systems. Consider the example of a self-made CEO. Obstacles appeared constantly. Competitors, economic shifts, failed launches. They did not wait for circumstances to improve. They did not criticize others or the market. They executed consistently, refined their systems, and adjusted their processes. They owned the process, measured outputs, and improved daily. Growth was inevitable because ownership was absolute. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Rule 2. Convert setbacks into systems feedback. Failure is data, not identity. When progress slows or mistakes occur, analyze objectively. Ask, what system adjustment is required? What behavior needs correction? How can I execute better tomorrow? Then act. Do not dwell. Do not judge. Do not externalize blame. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 3. Focus on controllable variables. Time, attention, effort, and systems are yours to command. External events, luck, opinions, and comparisons are outside your control. Stop wasting energy on them. Allocate energy where it produces results. Guard attention. Execute consistently. Strengthen systems. Compounding action drives growth. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Resistance will arise. The mind will seek excuses. The environment will impose obstacles. That is predictable. That is natural. That is irrelevant. You do not negotiate with excuses. You act according to principle. You apply discipline. You follow systems. You measure outputs. Growth is the result of consistent, controllable action. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. Rule 4. Schedule accountability practices. Review daily and weekly performance. Track adherence to systems. Identify gaps between intent and execution. Adjust routines. Do not blame. Do not rationalize. Correct. Adapt. Execute. Growth compounds when action is consistent and measurable. Excuses are irrelevant. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Behavioral drill. Identify 3 areas where you habitually assign blame. For each, define specific actions under your control. Execute these actions daily. Track performance. Adjust systems as necessary. At the end of each week, reflect only on what you did or did not execute. Ignore external factors. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. Consider the professional who struggles with productivity. They blame the workload, colleagues, or digital distractions. The self-disciplined professional takes ownership. They schedule systems, block distractions, focus attention, and execute consistently. Results improve. Momentum builds. Confidence strengthens. Growth becomes inevitable. Excuses are eliminated. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Reflection is critical. Each day, record what you executed, what you neglected, and what adjustments are required. Observe patterns. Reinforce systems. Focus on improvement within your control. Stop narrating excuses. Stop rationalizing failure. Own every decision. Own every action. Own every result. Growth becomes measurable, deliberate, unstoppable. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Notice the compounding effect. Weeks of deliberate ownership produce months of measurable progress. Systems strengthen. Habits solidify. Focus sharpens. Attention becomes resilient. Results follow naturally. Responsibility becomes automatic. Excuses are irrelevant. Mastery emerges because ownership is absolute. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. Final exercise. Take one significant area of life where growth has been delayed. List all excuses previously used. For each, identify the actionable step within your control. Execute daily. Track adherence. Adjust systems. Measure results objectively. Ignore external factors. Stop rationalizing. Own every element. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. End this chapter and this audiobook with certainty. Growth is deliberate, measurable, and entirely yours to claim. No one else would do it for you. Circumstances are irrelevant. Excuses are irrelevant. Systems, habits, focus, attention, and daily execution are all under your control. You have a choice. Apply it. Guard it. Execute relentlessly. Own it. Grow it. Repeat. Internalize. If this audiobook has helped you reclaim focus, build systems, and train your mind, subscribe now for more in-depth, structured programs. Take control of your growth journey. Apply these principles daily. Guard your attention. Master your mind. Systems, habits, and deliberate action are your tools. Own it. Grow it. Repeat.